All right. Understandably, investors have a lot of concerns about Supermicro computer stock. There's two things in particular that I think investors need to know about Supermicro computer stock right now. And one of them has to do with the risk of being delisted from the NASDAQ, which I'll address in this video. And the other is with its relationship with Nvidia. Is Nvidia going to separate itself from Supermicro computer and say, we don't want to deal with you anymore? You're going through too many difficulties, too much negative publicity, and we don't want to be associated with you. I'll talk about that as well in this video. So let's take a look at the issues first.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
So regarding the delisting risk from NASDAQ, so they have a deadline of November 16 for coming up with an auditor to replace the auditor that resigned and plan to file its late financial statements so that they can remain listed on the NASDAQ. And so there was a risk. Are you comfortable that you will have an auditor and a file plan for the NASDAQ by the deadline? And the company's management team said, we are not answering those questions today. We are not answering those questions today. And this was stated on November 5th, Tuesday, November 5th. They said that they're not answering those questions today. But they did say that we will be filing a plan with NASDAQ and Indeed regarding an extension. But that's all we have to say about that. So it sounds like they're not going to file by November 16. Instead, they're going to look to get an extension. That's just my inference from the situation. That can all change if they were to find an auditor by that time and file their statements within that time. However, that seems highly unlikely at this moment. The bigger concern is not that they're going to be delisted from the NASDAQ, but the bigger concern is why they're going to be delisted. If you're unable to file your financial statements on time and your auditor is resigning and your financial statements, the accuracy of your financial statements are under question, that's the bigger concern. That's what investors should be worried about. Is the company going to go back and tell investors that, look, we reported sales that were a couple of billion more than we should have reported, or profits that were a couple of billion more than we should have reported? And the risks are even more because the company had sold billions of dollars worth of stock to investors. So then the next question will become, what recourse do investors have after they raised billions of dollars in capital with these financial statements under question? Did management know that these financial statements were inaccurate? And so it's going to raise a lot of questions. It's already raising a lot of questions, and it's been several months now that these questions have remained out in the open. Investors haven't gotten a satisfactory answer from the management team, and they keep delaying, and they're doing investigations. They have an internal committee, but the news that comes out, the news that keeps coming out, just makes investors more and more skeptical, and that's why the stock price just keeps falling with every piece of news that comes out surrounding Supermicro computer. So that's one thing that investors need to know about this company right now. They also talked about their cash flow, and I've been talking about this for a couple of years now with Supermicro computer about why their free cash flow is negative. So, or used to be negative. In the most recent quarter, it was actually positive. They said that they've been growing at such a high rate over the past few quarters. That's been impacting their operating cash flow. They've been pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into inventory as well as accounts receivable. So coming off a quarter where we didn't grow by that much, they were able to generate a lot of cash, basically $1 billion worth of improved cash flow. And this is what I've been saying about Supermicro computers' cash flows for several quarters now. When you're a company that's growing so quickly, you're using money for inventory, and then depending on the relationships and the deals you're signing with customers, you may not be getting money back. So in Supermicro Computer's case, that's what's been happening. they've been willing to sell their products to their customers without demanding cash up front. And so they've been allowing their customers to give them IOUs, in essence, accounts receivable. But when Supermicro Computer goes to buy its products from its customers or its suppliers, their suppliers have been demanding cash from Supermicro. So Supermicro has had to separate itself from its own cash, but it hasn't had the negotiating power to demand cash from its customers. And so that difference between the relationship between Supermicro Computer and its suppliers and Supermicro Computer and its customers works against it when it's growing so rapidly. That's why its cash flow had been negative. So the management team explaining that, and this is what I've been explaining for several quarters now with Supermicro Computer. So the second thing that investors need to know about Supermicro Computer is its relationship with Nvidia. Of course, Nvidia is the hottest commodity for accelerated computing and the supplies needed to develop a data center based on GPUs. And Supermicro Computer partners with Nvidia to help install its systems with liquid cooling solutions from Supermicro Computer. And so there's a risk that Nvidia would want to separate themselves from Supermicro Computer given the troubles it's having. And Nvidia has other partners it can work with, like Dell and Hewlett Packard Enterprises. And so it doesn't need Supermicro Computer as much as Supermicro Computer needs Nvidia. So the management team saying that, look, we've spoken to Nvidia and they've confirmed that there's been no changes to allocations, and we maintained a strong relationship with them, and we don't expect that to change. So a bit of relief, a sigh of relief there for Supermicro Computer stock investors, that at least for the moment, Nvidia has reiterated their willingness to have a relationship with Supermicro Computer. Now, this is coming from Supermicro Computer. So I don't think we can be 100% reassured of this at the moment. Nvidia is going to report their own financial reports later this month in November, and they're going to hold a conference call with Wall Street analysts, and it's likely that they're going to get asked the question about Supermicro Computer, and if Nvidia confirms that they're reiterating their relationship, then I think Supermicro investors can be comfortable regarding their relationship with Nvidia. For now, this is a good piece of information, but you can't feel reassured completely just yet. But it's nice to hear them saying that, for now, we're still connected with Nvidia. They're still dealing with us. We still have a strong relationship. This isn't something to worry about just yet. Hey everyone, I'm excited to announce that my book is finally available for sale. I've been working on it for more than a year now, so I'm really excited to finally share this with you now. It goes through my framework for evaluating stocks. Some of you often ask why I like this stock or why I like the other stock, and this framework provides you the things that I look at when I'm evaluating stocks. I've added the link in the description below.